enterprise level systems, and where I think that being able to use AI as an integration layer, so that you can start to think about your social platforms as a potential source of data, and use them as inputs, and how can you synthesize across that does not now become a part of the corporate record, because well, you obviously from a legal and discoverability perspective, you may not want to have that persist.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, it's Robert Kramer with Analysts Gone Wild, and joined by a couple other folks today, Sam and Ken. And how we all doing today? Episode 51. Can you believe it? And
Yeah, this is so exciting. I mean, we had never planned for 51 episodes, right, Robert? And
I
here
thought we
we
got
are.
a few in, and plus 50. Now we're at 51. So I mean, Ken's been on a bunch of times with us, and it's always fun to talk about data, ERP, supply chain, new announcements, technology, the customers. It's a crazy time of technology advancement, and we're excited to all collaborate here. So Robert Kramer with more insights and strategy. I cover ERP, supply chain, enterprise data protection, and looking forward to really bouncing some stuff off these smart folks on the call here. So Ken, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's going on with you? You're on mute.
I was trying to minimize background noise for y'all.
No,
Ken Gonzalez here, otherwise known as Ken Gunn, founder and lead advisor at Pretty Simple Group. And I'm just cranking out results and having some fun. So I'm glad to be back with the crew. This always is a high point in my week, because I think the one time where I really get to dig in and talk with other folks and really have meaty conversations. So
I know we all learn from each other. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
posture, and it's kind of nice to have that the setup that we have here. So Sam, how you doing today? And it's nice to see you and see someone on the other side of the border, and how you're doing, and how's business and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything is great. It's exciting times. I mean, it may not be as exciting for everybody, I guess, but for us, definitely, we are crushing it. I'm super excited for today's game, USA versus Canada, since you mentioned border.
Yeah, who do you think's going to win that one? Who's got the more? Because the talent's distributed pretty equally, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, USA has a lot of Blue Jays talent, right? It's very clear. Sorry.
Well, you guys want to take down the U.S. because of the luck of the draw of the hockey game in the Olympics. How you kind of gave us a little bit of a second or third or fourth try to stay in that game, and then we won.
I mean, these days we are not focusing on hockey because we want to give other teams some chance. So we are focusing on other things.
Sorry. Well, that was nice of you to say.
Okay, Sam Gupta here, Elevate IQ. We are the independent vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. Also host of WBS Rocks. Super excited to be here, Robert, with you for these stories that we have for the week.
We got a lot of good ones today. So let's jump into the first one with Oracle. They're getting more into the banking industry. They reimagine banking for AI era with this new agentic platform. So basically, they're handing banks a team of AI helpers. So these agents can help things like loan applications, customer service calls, fraud checks, collection, things of that, all running at the same time around the clock. So this should help with the resources be more strategic around that. I do like that. So this announcement puts them maybe a little bit ahead of some of their competitors, but we'll check on that. Also, this is predicated on good data, obviously. So the positives are that I believe it's ready to go now. Bankers can stay in charge of important decisions, which is crucial. But I'm not sure how many loans they're making right now, anyways. But so, but
Seriously.
I think a lot of people talk about the Oracle ecosystem as a challenge or a con. I think it could be a real positive because of the expansive nature of their ecosystem, and I think the as the journey continues in the future, I think things are going to be around platforms and ecosystems. So, how does this benefit the customers? Let's talk about that and the vision behind this. But what do you guys think?
I'll start. So here, I guess, Robert, from my perspective, when I look at the banks, number one, I hate when I go to any bank is 45 minutes wait, and sometimes that could be an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know if you guys have the same experience or not, but I mean, banks are banks, right? You cannot expect more. The other things, I don't know whether you guys know this or not. Banks, the way they operate from the business process perspective, they are almost like retail companies. uh, you have a branch does not necessarily talk to anybody else. They don't even speak to each other. So there is substantial fragmentation, I would say, among these banks, the way they are designed, the way their systems are. uh, and we generally complain that we don't get traction from call center. If you go to a bank branch, they themselves don't get call center traction from their own call center.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is that they have technology, but they don't use technology, I guess. And here, let's say if you are going to have these agents, is that going to improve the experience? I don't know. I mean, so far they have not been connected. You are talking about personalized experience with a bank. I don't know. I mean, they talk nice, but I'm not too sure about personalized experience. So yeah, that would be my take on this. I'm not too positive overall with respect to AI's capabilities. They are talking about product brochure generation agent. What is that? Is it going to generate some sort of brochure? Is it going to be personalized? Am I going to trust? Is it going to look like Gupta ERP? That's going to be pretty bad.
Well, I like your analysis regarding they are retail branches in a sense, and
Yeah.
and they are fragmented, and this is a help, I think, but I don't think it's a silver bullet by any means. What do you think, Ken?
So the thing I found that was interesting about this release is, and I took this from kind of like the macro level. I think a lot of people are tempted to want to write off Oracle as a company. But the thing that I really appreciate about Oracle and the resources they can bring to it, even though they may not have been out front up until this point about, leading with AI and using it as part of an integrated product offering, like the old Oracle apps, and you have the traditional database that they've been selling, and all the things that are part of that ecosystem. I think that the real benefit here is that when they put their shoulder behind something and start getting serious about it, then they become a company that's worth, you got to pay attention to them.
Yep.
You can't count them out. And to do so would actually be a very bad strategic move, because I think they can bring a lot to the party. And because of the penetration in customer accounts, they could be a serious disruptor to other players in the market, whatever market they decide to want to take on.
Yeah, it all sounds good. I mean, I think what time will tell, but Oracle is a big part of the equation for the customer base in this
Yeah.
in the higher I guess the higher volume ERP customers. Sam, how would you categorize them? Same?
Yeah, I agree with Ken. Anytime Oracle does anything, you need to pay attention to that. And
Yeah.
not just Oracle, I guess, any other bigger enterprise software players as well. Obviously, Oracle has a lot of clout in the market. Anytime they do anything, obviously, everybody else follows. So, I mean, I don't necessarily believe in Wall Street that everybody's claiming that, SaaS is dead or software is dead. It's far from that. There are going to be some movements, but overall, I think they all are going to do really well. So, I mean, this is very exciting for the most part, as Ken pointed out. It's just that banking as a segment, I don't know how much you are going to get out of it. And AI capabilities right now is not. I just don't have as much confidence.
Well, don't you think, and we've talked about this in the past, that ERP is the big elephant in the room, and they're sitting in the background ready to stomp when their capabilities are a little bit further advanced. And I think it's going to be a big change in how ERP is seen, because it's coming, and it's coming in the next couple of years. But I think this is just the precursor to all of that. But like you said, when some of the big ERP players are making moves or new features, you would put Microsoft Dynamics into that, Oracle, SAP, and a few other ones that they're all kind of putting the same types of features and innovation into their technologies, and it's moving in a direction that I think is going to be an evolution for the industry.
Yeah, I think it's still very early at this point of time to predict, how this is going to evolve. But I mean, it's a very exciting change. Obviously, there is some power, but how the category is going to evolve, how ERP as a category is going to evolve, it's very early to predict at this point of time.
Well, I already did with the event-driven, remember, and it's already out there.
Way before AI. I mean, AI wasn't there. You already predicted that.
Yeah, I just woke up. I had this dream.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's move on to Sage. So X3 gets a little smarter with AI for mid-sized businesses, and so Sage is a pretty established ERP vendor with multiple solutions, and they are putting a bunch of new AI features into X3. And X3 is a pretty substantial ERP package, and specifically for mid-size. It might even go to upper size manufacturers and distributors, but you'll tell me what you think, Sam and Ken. But the question that you can ask is, what is it going to do? So is it going to automatically process invoices, track your supply chain in real time, send alerts if there's issues? So I think Sage is competing, like we talk about this, head to head against some of the big players that we mentioned with Microsoft and SAP, Epicor, Infor, IFS, etc. But so the pros in this, I think it's a positive. I think is it going to work is the other story. And are these features, are they available throughout the world, or is it limited right now? And what are the challenges for these customers? What do you guys think about this? And is this anything new to you? Or is it marketing? Is it something real, or both?
Yeah, so Sage X3 is the bigger ERP system from Sage. They have multiple products in their portfolio. So this is going to be slightly upper mid-market. I would say lower enterprise is where their position
is. This is their top one, right? I've always seen it as being a very complex one.
Yeah, this is the bigger one, the flagship. I mean, their flagship product. I don't know if they call that flagship right now, but this is definitely their mainstream ERP product. I think, Robert, to your question related to what they are doing with respect to AI, I guess the last two bullets is where they have mentioned something. So for the most part, I mean, this is going to be some sort of co-pilot and reporting. Interaction is their play. Obviously, my AI native peers, when they are going to look at this, and they are going to feel like, what is this? This is so maybe, what is that, 2020, or maybe older than that, right? But at the same time, in my mind, when I look at these capabilities, that's where the real value is of AI. This is where the majority of the consulting dollars customers spent previously. I mean, I would love to make this money, to be completely honest. If I get that revenue share.
Well, that's why I left those last couple points for you, so you can pitch.
But I gotta pitch my services. I don't know what I'm going to do in the net new AI world, right, Robert?
We're all working on that.
So in this particular case, I guess that's where customers are going to get value, and customer is your favorite topic, Robert. Hopefully they can get slightly more reliable reporting. I mean, I am yet to see reliability from AI use cases. Um, it's still for complex use cases, as far as my understanding goes, it does not perform very well. It gets confused. The accuracy reduces substantially when you are talking about really long extending workflows. And even if you are going to have very simple report, that's not going to be a very deterministic use case. From the ERP perspective, I have personally never used a real AI native ERP system, so it's very hard for me to comment how reliable or good they are going to be. But I mean, when I read comments from users, they have a feeling that it's not as accurate. So those would be my comments on this story.
Ken, what are you thinking?
So I really don't have a lot of background in this particular area, so I don't know the capabilities of Sage X3. But the thing I will say, and that gets me twitchy every time I see it, when people talk about real time, then we have to start to be a little bit. Well, so what do we mean by real time? And that's where I start to wonder about exactly what that means and what the impact on the customer experience is.
Good point.
So, sorry, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
We had a couple comments from Leonard, but it was on the past topic. We can still talk about it though.
Yeah. So I'll give you some background, Ken, on the real-time aspect. So generally, when you look at some of the other ERP systems, and I don't know if Sage had the real-time reporting capabilities. Generally, that is the rocket science for the ERP world, even though you might feel that, okay, what are you talking about here? Just connecting Excel with ERP, what's a big deal? I was reading a comment today on LinkedIn, and these guys were like, if you cannot dump your data inside Excel, then I don't know if I want to use that ERP. Most people don't understand that when you are doing these reports from users' perspective, they might be looking at, I'm looking for a simple data. Why is it so hard for ERP? I'm looking for a simple data points. But underneath, what it does is basically tries to join 200 different tables, and trying to compute those insights, that is still very hard when you talk about in pure data and database terms. Even for AI, I guess that's going to be really hard. So when you talk about real time, so this is going to be real time interaction with the Excel. Generally, that was there with most ERP systems. So I don't know if these guys are trying to include the agentic capabilities with that Excel interaction when people are going to enter the formulas. So generally, the expectation is that these formulas are going to talk to the ERP system real time, so that business users, when they are manipulating any sort of financial data, that financial data is also persisted inside your ERP system, but then you can do the live interaction. So that's the intent of real time.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you need AI for that.
Well, look, Sam, let me ask you a question. I don't think you do need AI for that, but don't you think where the ball drops, we'll go back to the implementations that I like to talk about. Your old system had 50 fields in the file master. Now your new one has 150. Don't you think and I'm not sure if you guys do this, Sam, a serious education of where those 150 fields go to and why they're there? Because when we go down 2, 3, 4 years down the road from now, if those fields aren't set up right at the beginning, the seriousness of taking advantage of the technology is going to be limited. So it was almost like all for nothing to put in the new system if you don't know where those fields go and you don't use them, because that's the intent, right?
So the problem becomes, Robert, and I think you teach as well. You are at a university right now. I don't know if you do the classes or not, right? So let's take an example of these students, right? As a professor, obviously, you want to make sure, Robert, you are providing as much as possible.
Yeah,
but the moment you are going to start teaching 150 fields, you know what happens to students?
they have to take the ownership, is where I'm going, and understand the fields. They have to learn that on their own. You can only lead the horse to water. You can't make them drink it. So 150 fields are here. Know the fields, understand where they're going and where they connect in inventory and pricing and, all the products, whatever they're going to connect to. But there's a reason why they're there, is because when the cycle of ERP works, it's because everything's connected and the fields are all filled out properly. It doesn't work well if it doesn't.
Yeah. So again, I think you can only train so much, and people are not going to pay attention unless they get into trouble. Then you start teaching them. Hopefully they learn. They still don't learn. They don't follow, and then we know how ERP generally goes.
Yeah.
So again, all of these are very human problems. I don't know if there is any solution for that. If you are going to reduce the number of fields, that's what SaaS as a category had done it. But then you lose something out of it, right? So again, these problems are related to humans.
Yep. Well, let's answer a few questions. We got Leonard. He's got about 2 of them in there. Unless Ken, you had something you want to add to that?
Well, yeah. So the place where I would push back on this, Robert, is that from if I look at what a good role for AI would be here, it would be around being able to make sense of the 150 fields and have that cross table analysis so that there's no substituting for like foundational knowledge of understanding the data model and what's supposed to be done. But I think that your AI technology can actually do a better job of holding all that context together so that you don't necessarily need to remember all of the minutia about, well, gee,
Absolutely
why is
correct.
that field being used? So I can definitely see that there's significant value there to be had if you approach the enablement correctly.
That's a good point, and I agree with that. And yeah, I think that it just has to be known that those fields have to be understood what they're for. So if you use AI to get a better picture, sure, and to maintain it, sure. But at the same point, if they're not done correctly, you're going to see a ripple down effect that won't be satisfactory.
So,
Uh,
Ken, even with AI, I guess you need to know what you are doing. The context is still relevant. The quality of your questions and prompts is still relevant. And sometimes, I mean, even if you look at like the basic meme creation, right? You will look at the internet and people complain that this is all AI generated stuff. But what they have not figured out is how to generate the right prompts and right quality of content, right? So again, there is a little skill involved. The problem always was, let's say, if you look at users and if you interview them, they struggle to understand why do you need parent-child relationship, how these parent-child relationships work.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, this is like 2026.
yeah,
We should not be explaining parent-child relationship, but people don't get it. So
they don't, and that's a problem because it's going to be exacerbated throughout the system and compounded as far as understanding what they're supposed to, the system is used for.
yeah.
All right. So we got a few from Leonard. Do you want to go through them, Sam?
Yeah, and I don't know why the comments are not as visible. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe it's at my end.
I got
But do I still go to your bank? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. You can do most of the things, I guess, on mobile, but I do feel comfortable going to the bank. Okay. Um, okay, so Leonard is saying, I hope this can work in the background so that when you are in the branch, this tag can be used by the humans in the bank. 99% of my banking is online with an occasional stop at the ATM. I think that's what would be for most people. But when you are trying to do any sort of banking application, I don't know how comfortable you are going to feel to fill it by yourself. I would not recommend that because then you are going to bear those implications. It's better to have somebody who knows what they are doing by your side. So anytime, let's say if you're going for any sort of loan application or wire transfer, I never trust because but I don't want to do it myself either, so I don't know who I trust. It's always painful whenever you do that, and that's why I probably rely on third party platforms a little bit more.
it.
So yeah, so those would be my comment. Any other follow-ups there, guys, on this?
He's got one more about Sage.
Okay, so let's go to Sage. So he's saying for Sage, it seems they are only going after the easy win here, the structured data inside their system, but a far better agentic AI would be one that could take unstructured data from social media, email, Word, Google Docs. So, Leonard, my comment on that would be that you don't want to keep your social media data inside your ERP system. That would be a nightmare. You really don't want to do that. Okay, so again, ERP systems have a place. They are designed for a specific purpose. For the most part, the role of ERP systems is not to keep unstructured data. If you are going to have unstructured data, make sure even that is going to be fairly structured. So that's my comment. Any other comments, guys, on this one?
No, you handled it real well.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
I think this is a good use case for being able to talk about how enterprise level systems and where I think that being able to use AI as an integration layer so that you can start to think about your social platforms as a potential source of data and use them as inputs, and how can you synthesize across that does not now become a part of the corporate record because you obviously from a legal and discoverability perspective, you may not want to have that persist, but you still may want the insights from being able to examine those interactions and the kind of messages that are received, and potentially even some of the free form assets that sit inside of file systems. I think Claude Code is a good example of that, where you're now being able to give it targeted permissions at things that reside in your local file system. These are, I think, good use cases to think about when we're considering how can our publicly available AI tools help us be able to start making sense of things.
That's good points.
Okay,
all right.
Rob, do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, so ActiveCampaign, they acquired AI evaluation platform, Feedback Intelligence. So ActiveCampaign, it's a popular marketing automation tool used by small to medium-sized businesses. So they bought a small startup called, like I said, Feedback Intelligence. And what do? So they watch AI to human conversations, and they figure out what went well and what didn't. So the goal is to use this knowledge inside ActiveCampaign as its own AI, to get smarter every time you use it, type of a thing. So what do we all think? I mean, ActiveCampaign is pretty successful right now. This AI, I think, to interpret and I guess the posture potentially of what AI is doing. I think that's a positive, but nobody really kind of knows what they're getting out of this from a customer standpoint of ActiveCampaign that I can see, and they have some pretty strong competitors at the same time. So, what do you guys think? How does this affect the customers? Do we like this move? Do we know enough about the move? And we'll go from there.
Ken, do you want to go first, or?
Sure. So I think in this class of tools, when we're looking at marketing automation and looking at how you engage with advertisers and what you put in the field and doing your A/B testing and all that stuff, anything that can give you an additional edge as somebody that's a consumer of these is probably a good thing. But a bit suspect of it, not knowing exactly how far it goes in what the value is to the person that's actually doing the work. And what the cost would actually end up being for being able to consume that. Because ultimately, I think because they did an acquisition, they're going to want to pay for it somehow, or see it result in additional, revenue. So it can't be just, hey, we're going to serve the existing base by providing them a new capability. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So how are you going to pay for lunch?
Yeah, could not agree more. I think you are right, Ken. There is never going to be free lunch in this particular case, I think in my mind, this is a follow-on story. I guess we already saw HubSpot. I think they took the lead on this one. If my understanding is right, they had an acquisition which was very similar to conversational intelligence as well as feedback intelligence. I mean, ActiveCampaign is a great platform, but again, I mean, they probably don't make as much money as HubSpot. So obviously, they are not going to be able to buy, I guess, more expensive platforms or the first ones. It's almost like the way you do bidding with your players, in baseball. Depending upon how much you are charging, right? That's what you're going to get. So now, in this particular case, I guess I would see some value in this conversational intelligence. I have personally never used or seen, so we don't know how capable this is. But I guess, I mean, when you look at, and I don't know where something like Gong would fit into this category. And there was another tool that I was reading about today. I don't know if it is called Mosaic or something similar. But there is another CRM that is coming in the market that is more agentic in capabilities, but very similar to Gong. So Gong has a lot of value, and that's why it's fairly well adopted. So I don't know how Gong will overlap with this. Maybe it's similar, maybe it's different. I don't know, but there is some value, at least in the CRM world, for this, in my mind.
Yeah. I agree. I think the CRM world is a great one. I think it's needed to get all that information from your ERP, and then all the field put their information in, and then rip through that and get a lot of details, and then you jump into the cross-selling modes and the marketing capabilities. I think it's all still hinging on what we always talk about, our friends in the data world. So I think that I don't know. I think CRMs are sometimes a little bit overhyped. And I'm not sure if you guys agree with that. Probably you don't agree, but I think that they're overhyped, and it's all about the users being on the same page to be able to put the same information in, or else you're going to get conflicts everywhere. So I think it's on a case-to-case basis whether it's successful or not. I've used it, Salesforce a lot with SAP, and the users on the system, it was very messy and the information didn't come across well. And it wasn't SAP's fault or Salesforce's fault. It was the company.
So, Robert, if you spoke with anybody in the CRM community, they would argue that maybe you have used an ERP and not a real CRM. They don't like to recognize even Salesforce as a CRM, and that may be a shock for you.
No,
SAP is definitely. I mean,
well,
SAP,
they've only been in the business for 3 years, because it's been a CRM system big time until the last couple of years when it's exploded with all these new innovations. But that's my
yeah. So CRM has two different layers, and sometimes when you talk to marketers, they don't necessarily understand the operational aspect of CRM. The one that you are talking about is slightly more operational aspect of the CRM. For marketers, once you have a deal, they don't necessarily care.
Well, that operational part is what needs to be put together first to get to the next step, is what you're talking about now. It doesn't work without the operations working.
Well, so in the minds of marketers, it's slightly different because they care for the pre-sales aspect of marketing a lot more than the post-sales. The operational aspect would be when you have an order, then you have to do a ton, which is also CRM in my mind. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, I know.
I'm just saying that they will disagree with you, and they
Well, I
disagree
think
with
they
me as
both
well.
work together, because the field people, that information goes back to the pre-sales. It goes around in a circle. So I think they're not using the system as well as it should be. And I'm an ex-CMO, so I get it, and I know marketing, but maybe not on the way that you're talking about it. But I think that your post-sales affect the next sales and the pre-sales, and to understand what a customer should be buying next without without talking to somebody.
Yeah, so there is so much you can do inside your marketing automation stack, and there are like a million technologies right there in the marketing automation stack without touching the real CRM. the CRMs that we know or CRM, the ERP, community knows. And sometimes I struggle to understand those technologies as well, to be completely honest, because there's just so much happening from the call center perspective, from the calling, from the recognition perspective inside those call centers, the marketing automation. Email has like a million technologies there. So there's so much happening. And that's where the real play is, because that's what drives sales and marketing. And that's what these marketers care for.
Well, I think what drives it, here's a question I'm going to ask both you guys. If your systems are down, and do you care more about your ERP being down or your CRM being down?
Depending upon how you look at the problem, depending upon what problem you have more, is your bigger problem in getting sales, or is your bigger problem getting the operations right? If you talk about companies
Well, I
such as
can't ship or bill, or I can't manufacture, versus looking at some reports or doing marketing or looking at sales volumes. What do I care more about? Well, I care more about keeping the train moving than the CRM, in my opinion.
So
But,
if you talk to manufacturers, it's a very different industry. Some manufacturers may care for marketing, but for the most part, manufacturers care very little for marketing. Okay, for their use cases, sales and marketing generally is very easy. They go to a trade show, show the product, somebody comes in, they don't even need to talk to them nicely, to be completely honest. Okay. Okay, you are looking for a product, do you have money? That's how the sales works, to be completely honest, with manufacturers. But that's not the case with other industries. For example, you go to banking, right? You need to provide some sort of experience. How do you provide that experience? And that's what comes from your CRM. So depending upon which side of the equation you are on, now CRM folks will always argue that your customer experience, the front touch matters far more. What happens after the order, obviously you want to provide that as well, but that's secondary. The first thing should always be the priority, where you are touching the customer first. I'm not disagreeing with you, Robert. I mean,
that's
obviously.
good conversation. What do you think, Ken?
So I think similar to what Sam said, I think it depends on the seat you're sitting in. And so from his example of the
seat I wanted you to be in is the business owner.
Well, yeah. So if you're a manufacturer, there's two things you want. I want to be able to accept orders because, and I want to make sure that the production keeps running so that I got orders coming in, product going out. So if either one of those are impacted, I'm going to be very twitchy. I'm going to get those back up as soon as possible. And for Sam's example of the high tech, high touch, I think that an area that doesn't necessarily get impacted by CRM is the design of the experience. There's a lot more friction in there than can just be addressed by having a good CRM. And I think that companies that are really intent on being able to have good experiences, they recognize this and are actively working towards identifying and eliminating those points of friction. And if they're not, they should be, because that's where you're going to get your bigger bang.
Good point. Well, we got some good stuff out of us, all three of us on this one. So, Sam, you want to close out that one? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think let's go to the next one. I don't think we have anything else there on that story.
So we'll talk about Bombora. So they had spam with Beacon B2 Beacon. So basically, Bombora makes tools that help B2B companies figure out which businesses are actively shopping for what they sell. So their measurement tool, which tells you if your ads actually reach the right decision makers. I think that's kind of pretty important at the right companies. Just expanded their one ad platform to work across, I guess, 8 of the biggest ones. Now, Ken, you might be more familiar with them. I'm not tremendously familiar with Bombora, but they're now integrating with Google's DV360, Amazon's DSP, Yahoo's DSP, and several others, covering more than 80 or 75% of where those dollars are spent. So pros of this. It matches, I guess, over 90% of ad impressions to real business identities. I'm not sure, do you need a subscription or is this pay per campaign? What are the negatives of this, Ken and Sam? And then how do this affect the customers? What do we all think?
Ken,
If
do you
Sam's
wanna-
got something to say about this, I'm all ears because I have no insight into these guys and what they're doing.
Yeah, so I can definitely help. So here, and obviously, I mean, we have tried to utilize them for our own business. So that's how I have some background on these guys and everybody else who operates in this market. So their core positioning, Robert, would be that they are intent data, and I don't know how much you guys understand what intent data does. For the most part, a lot of different companies are trying to sell intent data, and that comes from so many different data sources. For the most part, generally ads is the primary data source for them, and then you have other websites that are publishing their data sets, and they are trying to identify if any company may be in the market at this point of time, whether anybody is looking for ERP or strategy research services, whatever that could be, right? So B2B marketers are utilizing that intent data to identify the right accounts so that they can target them. Hopefully, you don't have to make million calls. You only need to make 10,000 calls. Now, the challenge with the intent data, in my personal experience, it's not as accurate and as specific as what you would want. Okay, so here they are talking about an expansion, and my understanding of the DSPs that they are talking about, I think now this is going to have far more integration. Hopefully, this is going to be slightly more cross, channel activation is what they are talking about. I don't know if that is going to provide slightly more reliability, but they are talking about precise. That precise is always subjective. They also have some sort of buying group here. I don't know if they have layered in buying group level insight. Sometimes that is definitely very helpful for companies because if buying group buys, then account level insights are probably not going to be enough for these companies. So I mean, I need to look deeper and test myself to be able to understand how reliable this is going to be. But this space is evolving. I think with AI, it's going to become much, much better and superior.
Sounds good. Ken, anything you want to chime in on?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Do you want to move to the next one?
Yeah, I think we got another question from Leonard.
Okay.
Yeah. On this subject, actually.
Yeah, so he is saying they often try to sell the same data. It's still 6sense. 6sense is a great player. You are right, Leonard. 6sense, I would say that is more of a platform. Bombora, they just sell data. That's my understanding. Does a good job at this. Not sure about Bombora. So 6sense, my understanding is that they are also doing ABM, which is account-based marketing.
I thought that's what its focus was, the demand gen.
The whole ABM cycle. So in ABM also there are different layers, right? So 6sense does the whole ABM. I mean, technically they will tell you that you don't need Zoom info anymore, I guess, if you have 6sense, because they are a data repository as well. So they are far more than just the intent data. Bombora, for the most part, they are data provider. I don't know if Zoom Info is still buying from Bombora, but they are going to have a lot of different channel partners, and they all are selling to sometimes ABM platforms, but there are going to be other use cases as well. Okay, so we have one more comment, unless you guys have any other comment on that. My company has tried intent data. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So Leonard can relate with me, I guess, on that. It doesn't work as well as we want. Okay. Any more comments?
And always great to see Leonard because he provides great questions and comments.
Always.
Absolutely. Let's hit Fibr. They Fibr AI. So they raised $7.5 million to build an agentic web where it's more every URL becomes an intelligent experience agent. So Fibr AI is a kind of a young startup backed by Accel, ACCEL. It's a Silicon Valley venture capital company, but their $7.5 million is to build this technology to make the website smart enough to show different content to different users. visitors automatically. I think that's a key, and it's in real time. So that's what they're saying. So every visitor on the same landing page will read different get different signals. And I think that should help establish things. But Sam, you probably know a little bit more about this than me, but what problems does this fix? Does it make it more personalized? I think probably does. 7.5 million doesn't seem like a lot of money for this. How does this affect the customers, or is it more better fitting the vendor?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting story, and I was really waiting for this one, to be completely honest, because what and how they are claiming that they are going to change the complete web. So I don't know if the whole experience of agentic commerce is going to change agentic web. They are talking about that the traditional web is going to be far more traditional. Now you are going to get very personalized experience. So I see this as the next stage of DXP, is the term that I was looking for in the last episode, which is the digital experience platform. I guess that's what DXP stands for, right?
Yeah.
So here, this is the hyper personalization. I don't know how this is going to work in the real world, but this is very meaningful. HubSpot is going to be super excited about this one. This is what they have been preaching. I don't know for how long, but now these guys are going to make them look like rookie and legacy, I guess, uh, because this is far more power. But I don't know how this is going to work in the real world. Are we going to replace all of our websites? That could be a possibility. I would like to test that in a test website before I plan to replace everything. But this is very exciting development. I don't know where we are heading here, but once bigger vendors get a hang of this one, whether this is going to have real commercial use cases or not, everything might change, from the web experience perspective.
What do you think?
Well, so, the thing I start wondering about is, are we just talking about a light retreatment of like a progressive web app, or what they mean by agentic? Is there something more substantial? Because client side rendering and using preferences, and I would be specifically concerned about how much lag this introduces into the experience, and how much learning it actually takes up front in order to be able to identify like what the right mix of content would be to be able to serve to the customer. And I think that would actually require a fair amount of knowledge about the provider and the way that they expect that interaction to work. I'm left with more questions than excitement about this.
Yeah, and Ken, you are right, I guess. I mean, I am probably going to have very similar questions as well on this. And I think there is another question that I'm going to raise here, which is going to be, okay, how is this going to overlap with the overall interaction at this point of time? Because what people are claiming that the future interaction is not going to be through web. So do we even have websites? Are we simply going to have some sort of agents that we are going to publish as opposed to a website? But then the LLMs need to crawl the web as well. So I don't know where this is all going to end up. But for the most part, I would not worry about the speed. The reason for that is because the LLMs are very powerful as far as my understanding goes. For each of the interaction, I believe they are performing billions and trillions of calculations. So I'm not too sure if speed is going to be concerned, because it's very fast, obviously, right? But this is probably going to, I don't know if there are going to be some sort of protocols that are going to evolve. It's going to be similar development platform, but there are going to be a lot of changes that we can all see.
Well, Sam, I think that the devil's in the details here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I'll agree with you from the perspective of, yes, LLMs are fast. And if I am just talking about you or my ability to interact with one and get a response, that's great. But if I now look at a number of different agents that are collaborating in I'm going to use the term and I'm going to hate it, real time, they're actively coordinating, looking at what content they need to generate, package that into an interface, and then deliver it back to the customer.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about all of the tiny, how the lags add up and impact the user experience. I would be very twitchy about that.
Well, don't you guys think this is a shift that will take some time, but this is a direction that we've got to go for more of a dynamic websites from the staticness that we're kind of at right now. So you could see this coming through at some point in time. And I think it's going to take a lot more than this company to do it.
It's the overall evolution, I guess. I mean, we still I think it's going to take some time, and
Yeah.
I don't know how this company is going to do, even though I really like the investors as well as the people behind that, but we don't know if they will be able to shape the entire market. There are a lot of questions, as Ken pointed out.
Yep. All right.
And certainly I think I'm a fan of like taking the stepping back from the interface, whether it's something that runs on one of these or whether it sits in your browser. The fact of the matter is, I think there's a lot of room for being able to re-envision how things happen behind the scenes and then be able to take whatever that business logic and data representation is and then provide it in a manner which is, it could be voice, it could be more gesture oriented, it could be even a traditional web delivery or in the form of an app that runs on a mobile device. I'd like to see a lot more how you go through and actually package all that and start making that available so that it doesn't matter the channel that somebody's using to get access to the capability.
Great points, Ken. I would love to see that as well. Robert, I don't know if you want to touch on this comment. So Leonard is saying, isn't ChatGPT already providing context-aware experiences for users with data and content from websites? So Leonard, to this question, Robert, you disagree with this comment?
No, I would say, yeah, they are, but I'm not sure how to compare it to what, this other company's doing.
Yeah, so basically, LLMs are accessing the websites as well. So even if they are providing context-aware experiences, where are they getting that context from? They are getting from the websites. And right now, websites are static. When they are going to be dynamic, it's the whole experience is probably going to be richer. Right now, I don't think websites can provide the kind of context that LLMs need. So once they get there in providing that experience based on the prompt, then the overall experience is going to be richer. So again, I think there is some play for websites, but I don't know if the interaction model is going to change at all, as well as how the existing websites are going to be created. Again, those are all questions that we have already spoken about. Unless you guys have anything else on that comment, we can.
No, we got to do one more, and Omilia. Hopefully, you guys are familiar with them. They unveil what they're calling the world's first enterprise-grade self-learning agentic CX platform. I'm not sure if that's 100% or not. Maybe you guys both know, but the company, they build AI-powered customer service systems. So they launched the platform that can be turned on and used immediately. No setup, no training. So they say, so it handles customer calls, chats, and what they're saying is it gets smarter with every single call, every day, every conversation. It includes things that what went wrong and how the human should step in or didn't step in. This is actually a Greek company out of Athens, and it's already powers customer service for pretty big names like Capital One and Discovery, Taco Bell. Sam, you're a big Taco Bell fan, aren't you?
I am big one. It's just that we don't get anything here, right? We have Taco Bell's some locations.
I think the customer service industry, this is a pretty big fit for that if it works as intended. I don't know if the claim world's first is valid or not, or it's just hype. I think that at the same time, the customers are going to either love it or hate it. This depends upon, how long the phone call takes. So when you call customer services at Taco Bell, Sam, I mean, what do they have there? Is it a person or is it a system like this? I'm joking. All right, what do you guys think?
Ken, do you want to go first? Because this is your area. My understanding is that, right?
Yeah, no, I'll start off on this. And let me just say that the first thing I'll start off, if I look back over the course of the past 3 announcements we've got, there are a number of threads that kind of go through them. And I'm beginning to view releases that have agentic in it the same way that Copilot now rings for me as being, okay, people are using this in a way that may not necessarily communicate what is actually meant by taking an agentic approach. So that if there's another area that I'm going to be twitchy about, this is now one that's going to get the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up and start wondering whether we're really talking about something that's truly agentic or it's just being used in the form of marketing speak. So that being said, I think that there is definitely value to being able to inspect an experience and determine whether or not that's actually meeting your goals and objectives. And then whether or not that data actually can now be used by an agent to customize that experience. And, like we saw with the earlier example, be able to deliver more near real-time content to shape that customer experience so that it's improved or better meets the need of both the organization and the customer. That remains to be seen, because I think how you define and describe the experience is the thing that I don't think we've been talking about yet. To really make what people care about explicit. How does that get done? That's the part that bothers me.
That's the magic that's not happening right now. I think that's the missing. You kind of really hit it well. I don't think they're trying to get the first layer done, which is have something in place that's dynamic, but are they solving the problems is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I personally do not like talking to an agent on the phone. So I know Sam doesn't either, but maybe you do sometimes.
These days, I don't think I can tell the difference, to be completely honest. Okay, unless they tell me whether they are agent or not. Robert, if you call me tomorrow, I won't know whether I'm talking to you or.
Well, that's sometimes going to be the case, but I haven't got that far with technology in my life. But well, let's do a quick finish here. I think I wanted to just hey, thank you guys for this great episode, but tell the audience as we close, what's going on with you guys this weekend. But how do you use AI with your significant other? Does your wife use it more than you? Do you use it more than your wife? Do you use it to correct or to try and win a discussion, or vice versa, or it doesn't get used at all?
So, Robert, let me ask you this question first. Okay, I think I have heard this question at least 20 times on this show out of 51 shows that we have done.
I haven't said the question.
Are you trying to get any sort of relationship tips here? I guess I don't know what's going on with this question, man.
I don't have any relationship tips. I'm probably about I think I'm like 1 for 100 in my discussions with my wife. So I'm trying to decide: do you guys use AI so I can get maybe that percentage up a little bit from 1 out of 100 to maybe 10?
Ken, do you want to go first?
Sure. So first off, I treat this like Ghostbusters. Don't let the streams cross. She uses AI technology. I use AI technology. I think I actually use it a lot more than she does. But as far as how she uses it, what she uses it for, you know what? You go do you. And I'm happy to leave it like that.
Is she in the technology world? Because I think if they're so she's probably not at the same level, but at the same
Definitely
time,
not.
You don't want to over-engineer it where you lose because of the common sense of AI might not be at the same plane you need it to be on. But Sam, what do you think?
So in my case, Robert, I think I have mentioned this before as well, that my common sense always fails when I'm talking to my wife. I don't know about you guys.
My wife as well. That's why I'm 1 for 100.
I can relate to that.
So I have tried the real common sense that comes from AI, and that does work better. because my common sense fails. And then what do I do? Okay, so I need some
Would
tools
you
here,
even
I
talk
guess.
to your wife, or you just talk to AI? And then you
I
get
talk to AI, consult with AI.
Yeah.
What do I need to talk to? Please tell me, because I have no idea. I have never been able to figure this out. Please tell me, what do I need to tell? And I simply repeat whatever AI says. And it sometimes works, man. It's better, I would say, better than me. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you guys are better than me.
I mean, I'll put the whole thing in, and then I'll tell her, and she goes, "Did you say something?"
And the next one is going to be far worse, I guess. I mean, then she's going to say that you are not listening to me. You are not paying attention to me. And then
when she says it to me, I'm saying, "Can you tell me that again?" She goes, "You never listened to me."
If there is one good thing about that, like I think there is a potential use case here, because taking the time to step back from like a question that gets asked of you, not giving the first answer that comes out of your mouth, like the automatic, always there, ready to go answer. Being able to like have a sidebar conversation with somebody that's not attached to a particular outcome, or is there trying to be generally helpful. I think that's a good thing for the three of us to be able to look at as to how can I present something, and then, oh, let me think about it for a moment, and then get some input, and then potentially come to it in a way which will not generate friction with that significant other person.
Well said. Well, I think we're good today, Sam. This was nice. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, guys. So I'll have a little wrap here. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. This was Analyst Gone Wild, and we meet every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.